Hey everybody, my name is Ben and I'm on staff here at Blackhawk with the middle school team, and I'm also a 4-to-1 leader with one of the 6th grade guys groups. Shout out, what's up my homies? Get it up, we're home group, it's a homies. Bad joke, anyway, I'm not actually funny. It is week 2 of home groups, and we are in week 2 of our series on the gospel. God's big story, his version of what life and the universe is all about. Last week we saw that God created everything and it was good. This week we get to see what happened next because, sometimes we look around us and everything doesn't seem good. So what's up with that? Let's find out. So God made everything. It was good, and there were these 2 human beings, a man and a woman. And God gave them a home within his creation. He gave them a garden. It was awesome. It was beautiful, and the food was tasty. Here's what God said. Let's grab a Bible. God said, Genesis chapter 2, Yahweh God. Yahweh is just kind of the name for God. Yahweh God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. And Yahweh God commanded the man, "You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will surely die." So, we have happy, healthy people. They're naked. It sounds weird, but it's kind of a big deal in the story. They have good food from lots of different kinds of plants, and God says, you can eat the fruit from every tree, but this one, just this one tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So, it is your lucky day. I found the tree from the story. Ta-da! Knowledge of good and evil tree. Knowledge of good and evil fruit. Yeah, good stuff. So, this animal comes along in the story, the serpent. We're told that he's crafty, clever. He's smarter than any of the wild animals Yahweh God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Now, we already know the answer because I know you've been paying attention, haven't you? The answer is no. No, that's not what he said. That's a dumb question for a clever serpent. Though the serpent did do something interesting. He took out God's name. He didn't say Yahweh God. He just said God. That's interesting. We'll get back to that in a second. What does the woman say? "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that's in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." Ooh, that's interesting stuff. First of all, the woman takes the bait on the God language. She's not calling him Yahweh, his personal name. She's just calling him God, as if she didn't really know him. One of my middle school classmates, Cy Zasky, his mom was the vice principal of our school. Now imagine I'm talking to Cy and I say, "Hey, do you know, is tomorrow an early release day?" And he says, "Well, the vice principal told me that tomorrow's just a normal school day." You mean your mom? Wouldn't it be weird if he called his mom by her title? It appears that's kind of like what's happening here with the woman. She knows Yahweh, but she's just calling him God. And the other thing is, she messed up what Yahweh God had said. The command was, "You'll die if you eat from this tree." And she says, God says we can't eat this fruit. We can't even touch the tree or we'll die. Well, that's a kind of an extreme thing to say, and it's different than the command. So the serpent sees an opportunity. He's clever. Huh? "You will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Ooh, it's new information. The serpent is sowing mistrust between the woman and God. You can't trust God. He's withholding information from you. Let me tell you what he won't. Trust me, huh? Your eyes will be opened. You'll be like God. So, when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. Okay, well, that's not actually going to work in this case, but you get the point. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. And then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed some leaves together to make clothes. It's all of a sudden they feel this shame at being naked and exposed, and they feel the need to hide now. They'd never been ashamed to be naked before, to be in their natural state. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of Yahweh God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day. There he is. It's Yahweh again. The name is back, not just the idea of God. He enters back into the story. It's the early evening, and he's just out for a walk. I mean, what could be more personal than that? The woman and the man know this Yahweh God that they hear. And so they hid. They tried to hide behind some of the trees of the garden from Yahweh God. It's kind of a silly idea to try and hide from the creator of all things behind a bush. And so Yahweh God called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And God said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman you put here with me, well, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." It stings me to read him say that. The woman you put here with me. When the man met this woman earlier in the story, his heart soared. He started speaking in poetry. "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." And now he looks to God and says, "The woman you put here with me. Don't blame me. You gave me this woman, and she made me do it. So why don't the two of you figure out who's to blame?" It's so tragic. Right? Yahweh, God said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." And then Yahweh God speaks to all three of them. First the serpent, and then the woman, and then the man. He talks about the consequences of their actions, but to be frank, we don't need to hear the consequences. We've already seen them. We've seen the shame, the blame shifting. We've seen hearts that have forgotten who Yahweh God really is, what he has said. We've seen people hungry for godlike power. And as the story continues, the man and woman, Adam and Eve, we learn are their names. Adam and Eve have to leave the garden. And then what God said comes to them. Death. Everybody dies, one by one. Sometimes it's just natural death, but a lot of it is violent, gruesome death in the story. Yahweh had said, "When you eat of the tree, you will surely die," and it happens. They know evil now. God's world is still good, but it is twisted, warped, it's broken. It started when the man and woman chose to disobey Yahweh God. They tried to make themselves like God, which was a foolish mistake. And they only tried it because they lost sight of Yahweh. When you're face to face with Yahweh God, you know there's no way a human being could truly be like him. And we still see it today, all of it, even in our own lives. You know, I like the fact that the story doesn't use names for the man and woman for a while, because I see myself in the story. I am that guy. My heart is good, yet deeply warped. It's a problem, and we see the effects of the problem as the story continues. Violence, death, destruction. Yet Yahweh God continues to move towards humanity in the midst of our mess. There's this thread that runs through the story. We are broken, but God still pursues us, still sees the good in us, still wants to know us, even when we disengage from him. And that's good news. We will continue to see this good news in the weeks to come at Home Group because the story is to be continued. You know, the story just got complicated this week, but Yahweh, God, the Creator, is still moving. So it's not over yet. I'm looking forward to the next chapter in the story. For now, have fun in discussion with your 4-to-1 groups.